Welcome to the Claim Your Day podcast. Here, it's all about taking full advantage of the time we have today and becoming intentional with our actions so we each can have the impact we want. If you want to stop drifting through life and start directing your life, and you're open to a short podcast from someone who's working at the exact same thing, then welcome. You're in the right place, my friend. Hi, I'm your host, Nick Mazey. To respect your time and so you can claim your day, let's dive right in. Hello, my friend, and welcome. Welcome to the Claim Your Day podcast. Glad you're here and joining in. And we're right in the middle of a series about making today count. Making today count. If you want to claim your day, if you want to make the most of it, if you want to live intentionally, living out your values, what you think is most important for you, your life, your family. If you want to do that, then you got to make today count. We're never going to get today back. And that's a good thing, because then it adds value to, how we need to be intentional on today. Today we're talking about, finding focus. In the days and days, I know that you experience this too, or I assume that you do, is that it's just easy to get caught up in being busy, just running from one thing to the next and trying to do a million things at one time and trying to get it all done. Well, and sometimes people pride themselves on being able to do that and on being able to get a lot of things done at the same time and being able to multitask, doing multiple things at the same time. But whenever you're quote unquote multitasking, doesn't it just feel like you're not present, like you're not mentally there for any of the tasks that you're doing? And it's a quick way to just kind of, get, what I call myself, I just feel like I'm cooked. I'm trying to do too many different things at once and I can't keep up. So today what we want to talk about is really cultivating, a little bit of mindfulness, bringing some mindfulness to the moments and focusing on what we're doing so that we can enrich our day, so we can add value to it by being present in the moment. Now, with this whole, we'll almost call it a myth of multitasking. See, we can physically do different things at the same time, but you cannot focus on doing two different things at the same time. Like your brain can only have one thought at a time. Now I might be able to switch back and forth relatively quickly, but when we really try to multitask and we're trying to divide our attention, our effectiveness, the quality of our thought, all that just plummets. It really does. And that's why you really can hear about it being called, the myth of multitasking. From a psychology perspective, we can only think like one thought at the same time. We can't do multiple things in our brain at the same time. So anytime that we're trying to do multiple things, our attention is really divided, and there's no way we're going to give our best, highest quality output or attention or value or focus to anything. We're trying to do more than one thing at the same time. Now, look, I get it. If you're a busy parent, professional, you're trying to do all this stuff, there's this demand to be able to multitask. So I'm not saying that you got to give up doing everything that you're doing. You still got to get done what you got to get done. Instead of this whole trying to be effective with divided attention, instead what we can do is we can try to focus on being present in the moment just a little bit. It might be kind of zoning into where you're at right now. A simple way to do this is with a little bit of breathing exercise or a little bit of just, calling out, where you're at and what you're doing to help you to focus in on, where you're at and what you're doing. Mindfulness doesn't have to be this all woo-woo spiritual thing. Instead, it really can be just, a little bit of deep breathing, a little bit of focus on the exact thing that you're doing. What's crazy is that when you do that, when instead of focusing on doing a million different things, if you focus on just doing the one thing that you're doing right now, it actually can help reduce your stress a little bit. But here's the kicker. It can actually increase your focus. So it's easy to get caught up in doing 1,000 different things, but if you focus on exactly the one thing that you're doing, just one at a time, and bring yourself to that present moment. I know this might sound a little woo-woo. It's not on that the spiritual new age side. I'm very much not that, in my Christian beliefs, but I still practice mindfulness, Like with a little bit of deep breathing, a little bit of reminding myself of the exact task that I'm doing to narrow that focus. And that does help reduce the stress. It does increase the focus for the moment. And another benefit, which is really, really powerful when we're talking about making the most of our days, making our days count, is that when I'm focusing on what I'm doing right now, with a little bit of that mindfulness, with a little bit of becoming like zeroing in on the present moment, it actually helps me to appreciate where I'm at right then. Because it's easy, especially when you got 1,000 things to do. It's easy that the more I'm trying to multitask, the more I'm trying to do all these different things, then my stress goes up, my focus actually goes down, and I have no appreciation for the good of where I'm at and what I'm doing, because all I'm doing is trying to do a million things at once. So how can we be present a little bit more so that we can be appreciative of where we're at, so that we can focus more on what we're doing and be able to really accomplish more ultimately in the long run by being more effective. So now I want to ask you this, what comes to mind for you when I talk about being a little bit mindful of the present moment and just being present right there? When I say that, what comes to mind for you? Think about that for a minute. If I throw out this word mindfulness, what's your first reaction? What's your first thought? Well, there can be a million different things that you might be thinking, and there's a lot of different people that promote a lot of different ways for mindfulness. Like I said, some of it does get into the more new age spiritual stuff, but really on a basic level, when I'm talking about mindfulness, I'm talking about just being present where you're at, what you're doing, and zeroing in on that present moment and trying to focus on exactly what you're doing, where you're at, who you're with, what's going on, just staying in that present moment. Now, if you have a lot of things, a lot of demands for your time and attention, energy, a long to-do list, family and work demands, and everything else, I get how difficult this can be. I get it out, especially if you want to accomplish stuff, you have big goals and dreams and things you're trying to do. It seems like it's more and more difficult, and it really seems counterintuitive to stop doing everything and to just do what you're doing right here in the moment. It does seem counterintuitive. It seems like you're missing out on all that you could be getting done. Well, I want to just ask you to believe me for a little bit, or just to give it a try. Because if you're trying to really be effective, if you're trying to get a lot of things done, then your level of stress, your level of focus, your level of appreciation, these things are huge. They're huge in you being as effective as you can be. And I've already said, and hopefully you get this a little bit, that when you really try to multitask, your effectiveness does go down, your focus does go down, and your stress level really can go up. So when I talk about mindfulness, I asked you just a second ago, what are your first thoughts? So think about that. Think about mindfulness, and I want you to think just for a second, if you could bring a little bit of peace, a little bit of calm, a little reduction in stress, and a little bit of increased focus and appreciation. Okay, so if you could do all those things and still be accomplishing doing the tasks that you need to do right now, would it be worth giving it a shot? Would it be worth it? I think so. But I want you to answer that. Would it be worth you being able to still do what you need to do, and also to be a little bit more effective, a little bit of a reduction in stress, a little bit increase in focus and appreciation, increase in effectiveness? Would it be worth giving it a shot just for a minute to see if a little bit of mindfulness could help you with those things while you're still doing what you need to do? Well, I think so, but if you want to give it a go, then a little bit of mindfulness exercise, it can be really, really simple. What I do throughout my day is I do a little bit of a breathing exercise. There's a few different kinds of breathing exercise that's really kind of neat. Depending upon the different counts, the different ways that you do it, can get into a little bit of different specific purposes and applications. But we're not gonna get into a whole lot of that right here. In fact, you can really Google some different ways. There's the box breathing is like a 4-second count. in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds, inhale. And what you're doing is at each stage of that breathing, you're just counting to 4. That has some really good applications, for anxiety. There's also ones where it's all about calming. It's about calming your heart rate and your level of tension down, to de-escalate. And with that, you want to have that longer, slow exhale. And when the longer and slow the exhale is compared to the inhale, that long, slow exhale actually helps to drop the heart rate down. It's very, very calming. Here today, we're talking about mindfulness. I I'm just really going to focus on a slow inhale through the nose and a long exhale through the mouth. That's it. And to kind of, it really does, what it does is it helps zero you into the present moment. And by just feeling the sensation of the cool air coming in through your nose, and then the calming piece of the exhale, all we're doing here is we're practicing feeling those sensations, which when you do that, it requires you to zero into the present moment and really kind of feeling the air come in through your nose and then feeling it, as you exhale slowly through your mouth. It's a very simple mindfulness technique that requires you to be in that present moment with your breathing. And doing this, during your day, if there's a task that you got to do and your mind is going to other things you got to be doing too, that can be a really good trigger for you to pause and do this simple breathing technique. Now, you can take just 30 seconds even to do this, even a couple inhales through the nose and then out through the mouth. It will require you to think about it for a minute. Now, you can do this while you're doing something different. You could do this as you're walking to your car after your day of work, or on a break, or in between tasks, or going to this place in the office, or going to, you're driving and doing some errands, and just requiring yourself to focus on that breath just for a minute. It brings you into the present moment, and that can help. It can help with the reduction of stress. It can help you to just think about how good it is right then to be feeling that breath. So I don't want to get too woo-woo in my podcast episodes, but there's actually a lot of science behind this on a little bit of mindfulness, and it has profound benefits. And one of the things that's going to help you to do here is to focus on what you're doing right at that present moment, to remove a little bit of the multitasking demands of your day, and to help you to appreciate what you got right now, right here and right now. So I know you're running around, I know you're doing a lot of things. If you're a busy working parent, I get it. I do. At the same time, you and I, we got to take care of our mindset, our bodies, help reduce some of that stress, help increase some of that focus so that we can be our best selves for what we need to get done and the important things in our lives and our families. And one simple way to do this is to make each day, each moment of each day count, to be the best that we can in those moments so they can stack up over time, and you and I both can experience the compounding results of a day lived well. So throughout your day today, I want you to commit to taking tiny, very, very small moments, and practice a little bit of mindfulness, just a little bit, because it's those small steps that build the habits that end up shaping our days and shaping our lives. So bring a little bit of mindfulness in the small moments that you have today, and hopefully it'll help you to, like I said, reduce a little bit of that stress, increase that focus, and enhance that appreciation that you got, because you're doing well. All right, claim your day, my friend. Can't wait to talk to you again soon. Take care. Oh yeah, one more thing. I mentioned it in a previous episode, and I got the Your Intentional Day Formula worksheet available for you. And what it is, it's a simple worksheet to help you identify and live out your values, the values that are most important to you right now. It's a simple little formula that you can walk through on this worksheet to help you identify those values of yours and some specific things that you can do today to be able to live out those values for you and your life and your family. Go to nickmazy.com. You can get it. It's Your Intentional Day Formula. Go to nickmazy.com. It'll be in the menu up top. Click it, get it, and start to live out your days intentionally. All right, here's to you, my friend.